What if I told you that the incredibly expensive hormone therapy you might be taking every single morning is actually being actively destroyed by your own body fat before it ever even reaches your cells?
I mean, it sounds crazy, but yeah, it's a physiological reality that so many people are completely unaware of.
Right. It's wild. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We're looking at a massive cultural shift today. Everywhere you look, people are finally talking about hormone replacement therapy, or HRT.
Yeah, and honestly, it is a profoundly positive shift. The stigma around hormone therapy is finally lifting.
Totally.
And, people are getting access to treatments that can genuinely restore their vitality. Because the endocrine system, it modulates quite literally everything: your energy, your mood, your immune regulation.
It's the baseline for how you feel every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when that system begins to fail, supporting it isn't just like a luxury, it is a medical necessity.
But, and this is a massive but, that our stack of sources today is just screaming at us in all this excitement, we have developed a dangerous blind spot.
We really have. A huge one.
Like, we are hyper-focusing on the hormones themselves.
Yeah.
The actual HRT creams, the pills, the injections.
Yeah.
But we are entirely ignoring the foundation they're being poured into.
Yeah.
And that foundation is your body.
Yeah, we're treating hormones like this magic wand that just works in a vacuum, completely ignoring the host.
Right, the host. So we pulled clinical blueprints on endocrine architecture, some deep metabolic health research, and an incredible functional medicine course for today's deep dive. And our mission here is to unpack this fascinating biological catch-22.
It really is a catch-22.
You absolutely need balanced hormones to optimize your body, but you have to optimize the host, meaning, your internal ecosystem first, for your body to actually metabolize and respond to those hormones.
Precisely. Because they operate within a highly sensitive, deeply interconnected physiological web. If that web is inflamed or toxic or just exhausted adding exogenous hormones, which are hormones from outside your body, it's only a fraction of the solution.
Okay, let's ground this with an analogy, because I know the science here gets pretty dense.
Yeah.
Taking HRT without fixing your metabolic foundation first is like taking a highly tuned premium Ferrari engine block and dropping it into a rusted-out 1998 sedan.
That paints the perfect picture.
The sedan has a clogged fuel line, flat tires, a broken exhaust. You can pump premium racing fuel into it all day, but that car is going to sputter, stall, and honestly, it might even backfire.
It absolutely will backfire. And to understand exactly why the system backfires like that, we have to look at the actual mechanics of the endocrine system.
Right, because it's not just a bunch of random parts.
No, not at all. Most of us imagine it as just a few isolated glands doing their own thing, right? Like the thyroid in your neck, the adrenals above your kidneys, the ovaries or testes. But they don't operate independently.
We talk to each other.
Constantly. They run on a very tight feedback loop. So think of the hypothalamus in your brain as a CEO. It releases signals to the pituitary gland, which is basically middle management.
Okay, so CEO to middle management.
Right. And then the pituitary sends chemical memos down to the worker glands, telling them to synthesize and release hormones like cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone.
Okay, so there is a very clear chain of command there. But the clinical blueprints highlight a rogue player in this chain that completely blew my mind.
The adipose tissue?
Yeah. Like, we've always been taught that body fat is just dormant storage, right? It's just this biological savings account for when food gets scarce.
Yeah.
But according to the research, it's not just sitting there, is it?
Not at all. And this is a massive paradigm shift in how we view the human body. Adipose tissue, your body fat, it acts as an active rogue endocrine organ in its own right.
Wait, so it's making its own rules?
Exactly. It isn't dormant. It is a highly active chemical factory. It constantly secretes these inflammatory messenger molecules called adipokines.
Okay, and what exactly do these adipokines do? Like, how do they mess up this system?
Well, they basically act as cellular disruptors. They circulate through your bloodstream and literally tell your cells to lock their doors to insulin.
Oh, wow. So that creates insulin resistance.
Exactly. And because the doors are locked, your pancreas has to pump out more and more insulin just to force sugar into your cells. This combination of, inflammatory adipokines and massive insulin surges completely derails that delicate command chain we just talked about.
And the sources show that this disruption looks completely different depending on your biology, which is fascinating. So let's look at men first. What actually happens in the body of a guy with high body fat who goes to a clinic and says, hey, I'm exhausted, I'm losing muscle, put me on testosterone?
This is where it gets highly counterproductive because in men, excess adipose tissue and those chronic insulin surges heavily upregulate an enzyme called aromatase.
Aromatase. Okay, what does that do?
You can think of aromatase as a molecular reshaping tool. When a man injects or applies that really expensive testosterone therapy, his upregulated aromatase grabs the free testosterone, snaps the molecule, and physically converts it into estrogen.
Wait, seriously? So he is paying for testosterone to fix his symptoms, but his own belly fat acts as a factory, converting that exact medication straight into estrogen.
Exactly. The host body sabotages the therapy, and this leads to exacerbated weight gain, impaired sperm production, and worsening mood.
Which are the exact symptoms he was trying to cure in the first place.
Precisely. It's incredibly frustrating for patients if they don't know this is happening.
That is wild. And for women, the host sabotage looks completely different, but I mean, it's just as disruptive.
It really is. In women, that hyperactive fat tissue and those same insulin surges upregulate a totally different enzyme called 1720 lyase.
Okay, stop there for a second. What is 1720 lyase actually doing in, like, plain English?
Right, sorry. Think of it as a pair of biochemical scissors. It snips precursor molecules to create active androgens like testosterone.
Okay.
So when a woman has insulin resistance, this enzyme goes into overdrive. It flips the switch toward excess androgen production. And this fuels a vicious inflammatory cycle known as PMOS, or polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome.
So if a woman is dealing with severe perimenopause symptoms, right, and she starts applying an estrogen patch, but she has this underlying metabolic inflammation, what is actually happening in her body?
Her body is chemically fighting the therapy. If her cells are just bathed in inflammation and her fat tissue is simultaneously driving up her androgens, the exogenous estrogen she's taking is just adding noise to a broken, chaotic system.
Wow, so it's just getting lost in the static.
Exactly. She won't feel better. This is exactly why the hormone-only approach fails so often. You have to address the body composition and the insulin resistance first, or at least, at the exact same time.
Okay, that makes total sense for the production side of things. But hormones don't just stay in your bloodstream forever, right? They have a life cycle. They do their job, and then they have to be cleared out.
Yes. The clearance phase is vital.
Right. So if fat tissue acts like a rogue factory messing up how hormones are made, what happens when it's time for the body to take out the trash?
That brings us to the exit strategy, which, like you said, is critical. For you to feel good, hormones must be efficiently metabolized and cleared once they've delivered their message.
And how does the body normally do that?
The body handles this primarily through hepatic biotransformation, which simply means the liver processes and tags them for disposal, and then they are physically cleared out through your gut microbiome.
The gut. I feel like we hear about gut health constantly for, like, digestion or bloating, but our sources are saying it's a primary hormone regulator.
Oh, a massive one. A healthy gut microbiome is mandatory for proper hormone clearance. But if you have poor gut health, or dysbiosis, you can develop intestinal permeability. Most people know this as leaky gut.
Right, where the lining of the intestines loses its tight seal.
Exactly. And when that seal breaks, bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS, leak from your digestive tract directly into your systemic blood circulation.
Gross. What exactly is LPS?
LPS is essentially the dead outer skin of bacteria. When it enters your bloodstream, your immune system recognizes it as a severe threat and triggers a massive inflammatory response. This condition is called endotoxemia.
And what does an immune system freak out do to my HRT? Like, how does that affect the hormones?
It effectively shuts down the liver's ability to process those hormones, and it halts the gut's ability to clear them. It creates this state of low-grade systemic inflammation.
So the exit doors are basically barricaded.
Yes. The hormones you were taking back up in your system, they recirculate, they become imbalanced, and eventually they can actually become toxic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, replacing them with even more hormones doesn't fix the bottleneck. It just adds more cars to the traffic jam.
So if the liver and gut are jammed, the hormones just keep circulating and causing chaos. And what really shocked me in the research was this section on environmental invaders, because the sources dive deep into endocrine-disrupting chemicals, or EDCs.
Oh, EDCs. This is a piece of the puzzle that almost everyone misses.
Yeah, and it's terrifying.
EDCs include toxins like BPA, phthalates, pesticides, heavy metals, fire retardants, and even pollutants in our municipal water supply. Biologically, they are classified as obesogens, meaning they literally promote the creation and storage of fat, and they actively hijack your endocrine system.
Okay, I really need to stop you here because reading this was Genuinely unsettling. Are our sources actually saying that everyday, mundane things like drinking from a plastic water bottle, eating canned soups, or even just touching those glossy thermal paper receipts at the grocery store checkout are literally blocking my cells from receiving hormonal signals?
I know it sounds like a dystopian sci-fi plot, but it is documented physiological fact. These chemicals are molecularly similar enough to your natural hormones that they act as imposters.
Imposters. Wow.
Yeah, they compete directly with your real hormones for the parking spots on your cells, which are called a receptor.
So what happens when a plastic chemical parks in my hormone receptor?
One of two things. When an EDC attaches, it might create an artificially hyper-responsive reaction, basically jamming the accelerator to the floor and overstimulating the cell.
Okay, that sounds bad.
Or it does the exact opposite. It suppresses the receptor entirely, acting like a broken key jammed in a lock so your real hormones can't get in at all.
This is a huge aha moment for me because I could go to my doctor, take a blood test, and the doctor says, "Great news. Your blood hormone levels look perfectly balanced from the HRT." But I could still feel absolutely terrible, exhausted, anxious, brain fogged because the hormones in my blood cannot actually enter my cells. The barking spots are taken up by pesticide chemicals and plasticizers.
Precisely. The hormones are in the blood, but they are functionally useless. Furthermore, these EDCs promote severe oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress.
Yeah, think of it like biological rust. It damages the cellular machinery, burdens the liver's clearance pathways even more, and alters the gut microbiome. True hormone optimization absolutely requires active environmental defense.
Okay, but what does defense actually look like for you, the listener? I mean, I can't go live in a glass bubble in the woods.
You can't, but you have incredible power to drastically reduce your daily burden. The clinical blueprints recommend an immediate audit of your kitchen.
Okay, kitchen audit. What are we tossing?
Eliminate plastic water bottles and food storage containers. Swap them out for steel, glass, and ceramic. Install a reverse osmosis charcoal filter for your drinking water that strips out the waterborne EDCs.
Got it.
Use a HEPA filter in your home for airborne disruptors, and strictly audit your cosmetics and personal care products. Make sure they are free of parabens and phthalates.
Okay.
And yes, opt for digital receipts whenever possible to avoid that thermal paper.
Okay, so we filter the water, we toss the Tupperware, but the sources point out that we also manufacture our own internal stressors every single day. We've talked about the fat factory and the liver bottleneck. Now we need to look at the daily drivers: diet, stress, and exercise. Specifically, we need to talk about the adrenal glands because they seem to be the primary victims of our modern lifestyle.
The adrenals are truly fascinating. Most of us just associate them with the fight or flight response, pumping out cortisol and adrenaline when we are stressed at work.
Right, like running from a bear or dealing with a mean boss.
Exactly. But they do so much more. The adrenals actually synthesize 10 to 30% of the body's reproductive hormones.
Wait, really? Up to 30%?
Yes. They are your biological backup generators. They actively compensate for hormonal fluctuations, especially during a woman's menstrual cycle or the rocky transition of perimenopause.
So if my backup generator is constantly running at redline, just fighting off my daily stress, it has no resources left to help me balance my reproductive hormones.
Yeah.
And according to the clinical blueprint, one of the biggest daily stressors isn't psychological, it's what we eat. Blood sugar instability or dysglycemia.
Yes. Diets high in sugar and processed carbohydrates create a violent physiological roller coaster. You eat a bagel and you get a massive blood sugar spike followed by a huge insulin surge.
And then what?
That insulin rapidly pulls the sugar out of your blood, leading to a functional hypoglycemic drop, basically a blood sugar crash.
And a blood sugar crash isn't just feeling a little, hangry, right? It's a biological emergency.
Exactly. When your blood sugar drops too low, your brain perceives it as a lethal threat. It forces your adrenals to dump cortisol and adrenaline into your system just to mobilize stored sugar to keep you conscious.
Holy cow.
Right. And if you are doing this 3 or 4 times a day through a poor diet, you are heavily depleting the adrenal glands and completely disrupting the hypothalamus-pituitary axis we talked about earlier.
Your body literally thinks it's dying multiple times a day. No wonder the adrenals can't make testosterone or progesterone. They're too busy trying to keep you alive. So how do we fix the roller coaster?
The physiological fix is ruthless stability. The sources outline a very specific dietary strategy. You must eat frequently enough to prevent those hypoglycemic drops, and you must limit large carbohydrate loads to prevent the insulin surges.
So no more massive bowls of pasta for lunch.
Exactly. As a baseline rule, they recommend aiming for 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight daily. Ensure 30% of your calories come from healthy fats, which provide slow, stable energy, and eat a highly diverse array of vegetable fiber.
And that diverse fiber goes right back to feeding the gut microbiome, which, as we learned, clears the hormones. The web is all connected. Okay, but let's pivot to the third daily driver, which is exercise.
Yeah.
Because I really need to challenge you on this one.
Oh, challenge away.
It completely contradicts the mainstream fitness narrative. Like, the message we get online is no days off, team no sleep, push harder, sweat more. High-intensity interval training is pushed as the holy grail. Are sources actually saying that my extreme daily boot camp class might be the very thing crashing my hormones?
Yes, they are. And the clinical data is absolutely unambiguous about this. Exercise is vital for maintaining insulin sensitivity, but there is a hard physiological breaking point.
The overtraining paradox.
Exactly. Metabolic overtraining, which means exercising with extreme intensity, duration, and frequency without adequate recovery, it ceases to be beneficial and instead acts as a severe physical stressor.
Wait, so my body genuinely cannot tell the difference between a high-intensity spin class and running for my life from a predator?
To your central nervous system, severe physical stress is simply severe physical stress. The mechanism is fascinating. When you overtrain, your body enters a non-adapted stress state.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning, the brain decides that since you are constantly fighting for your life, this is not a safe time to reproduce or build tissue. So the hypothalamus actively suppresses the pituitary output. It drops the release of luteinizing hormone, or LH, and follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH.
And what does that drop in LH and FSH actually do to you, the listener? Like, what are the symptoms?
In men, this suppression crashes testosterone production in the testes, just tanking libido and muscle growth. In women, this impaired axis can completely halt the menstrual cycle, impair follicle development, and trigger early hair loss and severe fatigue.
That is tragic. You're waking up at 5 a.m., grinding at the gym, trying to get healthy, and you are literally shutting down your own endocrine system.
Yes. The true optimizer is strategic, high-intensity strength training, but strictly kept within the limits of your body's ability to recover. That approach naturally increases growth hormone and improves insulin signaling without triggering the overtraining syndrome.
Okay, so we've mapped out the gut, the liver, the plastic EDCs, blood sugar roller coaster, and the overtraining paradox. But let's say a listener's doing all of that right. They're eating right and training smart. What happens if the system's absolute master switch is broken? Because all of these processes rely on one fundamental state of being.
You're referring to sleep.
Yes, sleep.
Sleep is the master regulator of all bodily functions. If your sleep architecture isn't optimized, the detoxification, liver clearance, and metabolic repair processes we just spent the last 15 minutes discussing simply do not occur. They shut down.
And the sources highlight obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, as a massive, often completely hidden culprit here.
It is a critical, often undiagnosed factor. Poor sleep, and specifically sleep apnea, promotes systemic hypoxia.
Which means?
That means you are experiencing chronic, intermittent oxygen deprivation while you sleep. You are literally suffocating at the cellular level.
Wow. That sounds exhausting for the body.
It is. This drives up rampant oxidative stress, elevates your late afternoon cortisol, drops your testosterone, and induces severe insulin resistance the next morning. Obtaining 6 to 8 hours of continuous deep sleep is not a wellness luxury. It is a biological non-negotiable for hormone health.
Right.
If you are struggling with weight, PMOS, or andropause, you must aggressively test for and treat sleep apnea.
Okay, I want to pause here and speak directly to you, the listener, because let's be incredibly real for a second. Hearing all of this science, calculating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, replacing all your kitchen plastics, figuring out exactly how to strength train without overtraining, managing your stress, optimizing your sleep, it sounds utterly exhausting.
It is a lot to take in all at once.
If you're a busy parent or a professional who is already running on fumes, the thought of overhauling your entire life just to make your HRT work, I mean, it's overwhelming.
And from a clinical standpoint, that overwhelms a massive problem in itself. The sheer cognitive load of trying to manage all these variables induces decision fatigue. And that fatigue raises your daily cortisol, which, as we've established, defeats the entire purpose of the protocol.
Exactly. The irony is that stressing out about lowering your stress is just spiking your cortisol. But in our stack of sources today, there is a remarkably practical and incredibly affordable solution to this exact catch-22. It's a program called the You Reinvented course, created by Natural Health NP. And honestly, I was stunned when I read the brief. It is only $37.
The accessibility of this resource is striking, especially because functional medicine has largely become this boutique, prohibitively expensive field. But what makes this course clinically valuable isn't just the price tag, it's the science of cognitive unloading.
Yes. Let's talk about why it actually works. It's completely done for you. The course provides 4 weeks plus 2 bonus weeks, so 6 weeks total, of highly specific meal and snack plans. And they give you the exact grocery shopping lists.
That is huge.
Right. You don't have to think about macros or blood sugar stability. You just follow the list. It also includes 3 days a week of guided functional strength training videos. No extreme, high-impact cortisol-spiking boot camp workouts, just smart, functional movement designed to build muscle without triggering the overtraining paradox.
This is a brilliant physiological intervention hidden as a convenience. By outsourcing the shopping lists, the meal planning, and the specific exercise routines, you are taking the heavy cognitive load off the patient's brain.
You're just letting someone else drive for a bit.
Exactly. Lowering that cognitive burden inherently lowers their chronic stress response and allows their HPA axis to finally calm down. It makes true physiological baseline optimization possible because you completely remove the decision fatigue.
It does the heavy lifting for you so your adrenals can finally rest. The course also includes mindfulness, journaling, and breathing techniques specifically designed to reset the nervous system. Plus, it gives you foundational supplement guidance and a detailed review of what specific labs you should actually be asking your doctor for every year. If you are a busy woman or mom who knows you need to make a change, but you just need someone to hand you the exact map, you can find it at naturalhealth, nepna.com/u-reinvented.
It aligns perfectly with the core thesis of our research today. You cannot supplement your way out of a poor foundation. Providing a structured, low-stress pathway to rebuild that host foundation is invaluable.
So, to synthesize all of this, HRT is an incredible life-changing tool, but it is not a magic eraser for core metabolic health. You have to optimize the host, you have to heal the leaky gut so your body can clear the old hormones, you have to support your liver by ditching the plastic EDCs. You must stabilize your blood sugar to save your adrenal glands from constant panic. Sleep 6 to 8 hours to run the master repair switch. And train smart, not just hard. Optimize the host, and you finally optimize the response to the hormones.
It is a profound shift in perspective, but it also raises an important final question, something I think everyone should reflect on tonight. We've talked extensively about how your external environment, the plastics, the stress, the food, alters your internal hormones.
Right.
But think about the reverse cycle. Research is increasingly showing that the massive amount of artificial hormones we excrete because our impaired livers and guts can't metabolize them properly, they are entering our municipal water supplies.
Wait, what?
Yeah. These excreted hormones are actively altering the reproductive ecosystems of aquatic life in our environment.
Oh, wow. So our broken internal host is now chemically altering the external world.
Exactly. We are literally changing the environment's hormones right back, creating this toxic feedback loop that eventually makes its way back into our own drinking water. We aren't just isolated hosts. We are deeply intertwined with the ecosystem around us.
Yeah.
Where does that cycle end?
That is a staggering thought to leave on. Are you driving your biological car? Or is the rusted-out engine of the environment you're driving it through calling the shots? We want to enthusiastically thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't let the sheer volume of science overwhelm you. Check out the You Reinvented course, outsource the stress, take back the driver's seat, and start rebuilding your foundation today. We'll catch you next time.